Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Today we're going to be diving into the realms of Cardano, and we've got a really interesting video lined up for you. We're going to be doing something fun. We're going to be looking at one of Charles Hoskinson's recent videos where he addresses a title that was given to a Cointelegraph interview with himself that essentially reads Cardano delays due to betting on the wrong technology. Now, one thing I always think is when many of these blockchains started out, like Cardano, like Ethereum, like Algorand, the first approach wasn't always the last. And Ethereum is a perfect example of that, how they started off on proof of work and now having the insight into proof of stake and the reasons why you may want to use proof of stake have ultimately changed. So what this article is addressing is something that happened with the Byron code base right at the start of Cardano, and that was essentially scrapped, and we took a different journey. Now, that was, I think, about a 15, 16-month delay. However, Charles Hoskinson obviously got a little bit heated about all of this and spoke about, just why it's the right technology. And we're going to look at a couple of clips demonstrating that. I did want to do a video kind of review my thoughts on DeFi, so I'm going to tie that into this video in regards to technology and how actually I believe that Haskell, I'm not quite convinced. I'm a massive fan of Cardano. I think Ouroboros is probably the best staking consensus that there is in the entire crypto space, but I'm not 100% sure if Haskell was the right language to choose to allow people to build smart contracts. However, that's largely irrelevant because you will know I believe in a Cardano sort of layer 2 sidechain vision. I think Cardano's is going to go down a sidechain route where sidechains are going to be the answer for interoperability, buildability with EVM and what Milk and Meter are doing, which is what I mean by it doesn't matter that the underlying layer 1 is Haskell, because you can use it and utilize it on a layer 2 like that supports EVM, for example, like what Milk and Meter are doing. So before I ramble on anymore, guys, and we jump into the video, just a quick shout out to my stake pool. We are looking to get this train rocking and rolling once again. We minted a block last epoch. If anybody does have any Cardano and they're looking to stake, all in is the ticker on my pool. It would be greatly appreciated. And we're looking to build a Discord and a number of other things surrounding it. So without further ado, guys, without me rambling on anymore, let's get into the video and let's start by playing this first clip where Charles Hoskinson essentially backlashes at an article that was published by Cointelegraph
in the cryptocurrency space and the people who purvey it. We didn't bet on the wrong technology with Cardano, and the context behind the statement with a historical discussion of how the project evolved. It's absolutely true that the original code base with Byron had to be rewritten. We called it the Byron reboot. The original team that did that, they're no longer here, and that code is no longer here. But the consequences of that rewrite set the project behind by about 15 months. But extended UTXO, Ouroboros, Hydra, Mithril, the sidechains model we've chosen to pursue, the governance model we're working on, the use of formal methods, all these different things were not wrong decisions. In fact, the industry time and again is validating that these are the right decisions, especially.
So there's been no downtime ever for Cardano. There's a lot of like I said at the start of the video, the only real maybe beef I have is using Haskell as a language because it creates a barrier to entry. And it's okay if the only, for example, blockchain you had to know Haskell, kind of like Ethereum with EVM at the start, was Haskell. But the problem is with when you have choices in the blockchain world, a way you can build your smart contracts or DApp or layer 2 or whatever it may be, people are going to choose a path of less resistance, certainly in regard. It's why Ethereum's so popular, because it's the easiest, or I won't say the easiest, that's probably not correct. It's the biggest and it has the largest development pool. So that's why you have a lot being built on it. And I do genuinely believe a blockchain's sort of value is going to come from certainly these smart contract blockchains from usage, Metcalfe's law. So I do have a bit of a beef with Haskell. However, if you look at Ouroboros, if you look at extended UTXO, there are many benefits that it brings to the table. And actually, Ouroboros, if the staking mechanism that Cardano has, like I said, is really second to none. you have inherently liquid staking, basically. And we've seen this get integrated into DEXs with LPs and all sorts of really great things. That now brings me on to talking about the DeFi space, which is something that I want to talk about. It's still early days. It's important to remember that. However, I think to date, barring a few areas, what we've got for DeFi is disappointing. But there's a couple of factors in this. We are in a bear market. If you look at Algorand's DeFi space, for example, we haven't seen that Ethereum summer yet across the board. And it's a hard time to sort of launch a DeFi protocol. And one of the problems you have with incentivizing people to use Cardano's DeFi is the rewards aren't there for doing it. Generally speaking, you can take on a lot less risk or virtually no risk and stake your Cardano and get nearly 5%. So I think I've been guilty myself of being sort of overhyped for Cardano's DeFi space. Things like Jed, I expected Jed to be number one in terms of TVL. And the fact that it's only got 13.8 million, I think reflects the kind of demand overall for Cardano's DeFi space. And I think at this point, I can see maybe more DeFi taking place on these layer twos. It's still very, very early days, just because we've not got an all-time high in US dollars. We do in ADA, so that does show maybe an uptick as it gets kind of built out. But I think it's very early days. I think I do have some disappointing points. I think Meld the other day came out and said they were finding it pretty hard to build on Cardano and that they're working with IOG for a solution. If I'm being honest, I think what Meld have delivered, given the amount of capital they raised, is unimpressive to say the least. And I feel that way about quite a few projects that have launched on top of Cardano. It's not necessarily knocking them because there's probably a reason that I don't know about. I have quite a hunch that it has a lot to do with the kind of building environment. And this is why this kind of layer two, Charles Hoskinson talks about adopting this model, layer or sidechain model, I think is going to be so important. So let's play a little bit more of this and then we'll wrap it up with a little bit of price action.
Actually, with the movement to layer twos and off chain, which extended UTXO is much better for than the accounts-based model. And the fact that Ethereum is struggling to move its way to liquid non-custodial staking when we natively bet on that. Now,
that's what I mean by there's inherent values with the extended UTXO. We looked at one that Milk and Media highlighted, which is essentially almost like a layer two staking. And also this kind of inherent liquid staking that you get with Cardano or non-custodial staking. I also think from a regulatory standpoint, that's going to be quite appealing.
There were some additional comments on Haskell. And at the time that we chose to use it as a language, it was a bit too rough around the edges to be a commercial language. We as an ecosystem had to work really hard to vastly improve the quality of Haskell to get it to a point where we could use it in a production cross-platform application, especially using it in Windows.
I'm not sure that Haskell was the right decision. But then at the end of the day, guys, people have made that decision far smarter than I am from that kind of standpoint. I just think from a sort of user point of view, but the layer two realm and sidechain realm really solves this problem, like what Milk and Media are doing with EVM. There'll be others, that I hope there's going to be a JavaScript one or, all these cool things that I think come from the layer two space. So I'm not 100% sure that Haskell was the right option, but I think the tech that he's just mentioned previously, there are massive benefits to it inherently without you having to do anything as a user.
That said, recent conversations with members of the executive branch of the United States who are dealing with cybersecurity, all the way ranging to other industry professionals, the desire for verification of smart contracts, certification of smart contracts, and high quality smart contracts has become one of the biggest hot button topics. And effectively, CertIC, I believe, raised money at a $1 billion plus valuation to pursue the verification of smart contracts, which means the bets that we made about how to write smart contracts, it seems like we've leapfrogged the industry and we're ahead of the game.
Yeah. So Haskell is more secure, you could say. So that gives this kind of whole, if you want smart contracts that you can apply in any kind of a serious real world use case like banking or something like that, they need to be solid. And that's kind of where Haskell comes in. And this is why I think it's going to really strive as a kind of layer 2 sidechain ecosystem, because you can utilize all that along with a staking mechanism, 100% uptime. We saw a 52% attack or something, and we shrugged it off like it was nothing, which is extremely impressive, by the way, guys. Most of the blockchains just simply wouldn't have done that. I've seen it. You know, there are some real benefits to it, but I do think Haskell is largely hindering the layer 1 DeFi ecosystem. To talk about a little bit of price action, and then we'll leave with a closing clip. This is the journey that I think we're on ultimately, guys. You will know that we've got predictions for Bitcoin, and ultimately this crosses over to the altcoins. I think most cryptos, Bitcoin and Ethereum, for example, are further ahead just because larger money kind of pours into them. However, many altcoins are still below their kind of layer 1. Sorry, not layer 1. 1 wave high. I think most altcoins, and certainly Bitcoin, is in this 5-way progression. And I honestly don't think it's going to be long before Cardano is pushing up above and beyond that sort of 60 cents level. To leave you with a closing clip, guys, and then we'll wrap the video up.
And there's already some amazing projects that you can see every day that are growing rapidly and doing some incredible things. Furthermore, some of the technology of Cardano really is starting to reach maturity to a point where it's innovating beyond any of the wildest dreams of its authors. Recently, good news about Hydra. It's preliminarily applications reaching mainnet. And that means over the horizon, as we look to the next 12, 24 months, that tech stack is going to get increasingly more integrated into every single application people build on Cardano.
Which is insane, guys. So that what he's essentially saying here is Hydra, which at one point may be able to scale to 1 million transactions, making Cardano, the layer 1's never going to be able to scale to that, in my opinion. I don't even think it will be able to come anywhere near close. Lucky, maybe 10,000, maybe, who knows? But it doesn't need to scale up to that sort of a figure. You can redirect the traffic from the layer 1 onto Hydra and then back to the layer 1, all whilst maintaining the security of the layer 1. So Hydra is a huge deal. I think the layer 2 sort of sidechain ecosystem has always been the vision for Cardano, as Hydra, Mithril, Midnight have always been a sort of key part of Cardano's design and vision. And actually, it's all coming together very nicely recently.
Where they need that scale. Mithril continues to evolve at a blinding rate, and my hope is to see Mithril-enabled wallets on Cardano on mainnet before the end of the year. When we look to things like the sidechain model of Cardano, that's maturing and evolving thanks to the Midnight Project, World Mobile Project, and others. And I think next year will be the best in class for that. So in many different directions, whether we talk about recursive snarks and zero.
Anyway, guys, we could go on and on and on, but I'll love and leave you on that note. I just found this an interesting video. I don't believe Cardano is bet on the wrong technology. I do question whether Haskell was the right option. However, as I've said before, that's just my own opinion. People far smarter than I am made the decision to use Haskell. The DeFi space is a little bit lackluster. However, I do think this will come around. And honestly, I think as we start to see more, the layer 2 ecosystem supercharge Cardano, it's a very exciting future. From a price point of view, you guys know the plan. We're long and strong right now from a spot point of view. Again, guys, quick shout out to the pool to wrap the video off. If you are looking to delegate your Cardano, do consider the all-in pool. It is greatly appreciated, and we're going to be doing lots of things, hopefully building a community around this pool and really becoming one of the top players within the Cardano validation set. All I've got for you in this video, guys. You enjoyed the content. A like is always appreciated, so is a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next.